Hi, this is Michael Buffer, and welcome to the BoxHard Podcast.
Hello, everyone. This is Mikey Garcia.
It's the monster from the swamps, Regis Rougarou Prograis.
Hey, what's up? This is King Carlos Molina, former IBF world champ.
This is Michael, the Bounty Hunter, 2012 Olympian and your people's champ.
This is Charlie Edwards, flyweight champion of the world.
This is Fast Eddie Chambers, and you're listening to the BoxHard Podcast with my main man, Joey Coastman.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 324 of the BoxHard Podcast. I'm your host, Joey Coastman. I'm joined, as ever, by former heavyweight world title challenger, Mr. Fast Eddie Chambers. Eddie, how you doing, man?
Good, my man. How about you?
Always good when speaking with you, Eddie. Okay, so this is the final podcast of 2021. It's the podcast where we go over the fights of the year, the prospects of the year, the knockouts of the year, all the rest of the things there. We've had, of course, you, the listeners, send in so many contributions. We're really, really pleased with those. Before we get into any of it, though, we're going to start with the review part of the show. Just one fight, really, to review. Going to start here with this one. It took place in Russia, I believe it was. Where's it gone now? Yes, took place in Russia at the USC Soviet Wings. Over here, former world title challenger Maxim Vlasov, now 46-4. It was his 50th fight there. A win on points over 10 rounds unanimously against Felix Valera. That one was for the Eurasian Boxing Parliament light heavyweight title. Valera down in round 2, down in round 4, and had a point deducted as well in round 9. God, scores all over the place. 100-86 on one card. God, but yeah, win there for Vlasov, like I say. That's it, though, for the reviewing. We're now going to talk about the categories of the year: Fighter of the Year, Young Fighter of the Year, Under 25, Female Fighter of the Year, Fight of the Year, Knockout of the Year, British Fighter of the Year, Prospect of the Year, Upset of the Year, and Trainer of the Year. I think that's all the categories there. So, yeah, we're going to start with one of those. I'm going to let Eddie pick it out. Then, of course, after this, we're going to welcome our special guest on this week's podcast, former unified middleweight world champion Daniel Geale. So you pick out the first category, Eddie.
Let's go Prospect of the Year.
Prospect of the Year. I've got my papers here, and yes, it's here. Okay, so Prospect of the Year. Xander Zayas. This one was sent in by Rob 111-38035. He says Xander Zayas, obviously the Puerto Rican prospect. Isaiah Hurtado also says Xander Zayas. He also gives an honourable mention to young Mark Castro. Jay Cowan sends in Jared Anderson, the heavyweight, the real big baby. And Tuba TJ as well sends in Jared Anderson. Connor Ben for, I think it's J Steel 88. Montana Love from Schoolboy Let. Jaron Ennis, that one was quite popular here. Came in from Johnny Jangles 11 and a guy I think called Mercurial 1005. He says Ennis from the US or Dalton Smith from the UK. There's a bit of a mix-up here, really, because some people kind of not sure if a prospect is a prospect or if a prospect is a contender. So I'm going to unfairly, after I've asked for the prospects, I'm going to merge it with Contender of the Year. So it does include the likes of Virgil Ortiz, the likes of Jaron Ennis, and a few other guys. You can't have a belt, though, for this category. What's your thoughts on some of those guys that have been mentioned there?
I like obviously, if we're gonna, put in Jaron Ennis and kind of Brennan, guys like that who I feel like are more contender than prospect. But if you merge them, I like those. I even like Jared Anderson as a prospect, obviously. What's the other one again? I'm sorry, Xander.
Zayas, yeah, the Puerto Rican. About 19.
I like. Yeah, and I mean, I like those picks. I mean, those are all talented guys who have bright futures. But if I'm gonna pick, I'm gonna probably say either I'm gonna go with I gotta go with I can't even get his name out, right?
Ennis?
What is wrong with me? Yes. If I'm going to go, I couldn't get his name. I don't understand why, but I couldn't get his name out. But I would either go there. I would go there pretty much if that's what we are,
Yeah, prospect / contender. I'm going to go with Virgil Ortiz just simply because he's still kept his 100% knockout streak going. Obviously, 2 knockout wins this year, one against former world champion Maurice Hooker in what was a great fight, by the way, and also the other one against the Mean Machine, Egis Kavalauskas. Ennis has got 2 knockout wins, again, one against former world champion Sergei Lipinets and one against Thomas Delorme, in which he got caught just before he knocked him out. Yeah, I kind of picked contenders myself, but like I say, there's that kind of, there's no official, when do you become a contender? It's a difficult one. There's no real step between. I guess maybe it can be when you've beaten a guy that is in the top 10, or you're in the top 10, or you've beaten a guy who was a former world champion, just like Virgil Ortiz against Hooker, just like Ennis against Lipinets, just like Conor Benn against Chris Algieri the other week. Yeah, anyways, that is it though for the prospects. Let's move on now to upset of the year. This one was a good one actually. There was a lot of upsets I think this year, but this one was probably one of the biggest ones. Kid Galahad losing his world title to Kiko Martinez. That one very popular, sent in by Cruel Jono, Matty Wright, Rob 111 380 35. Joshua 50227705. Some of these numbers. Yeah, that's a huge upset there, especially the fact that Kiko, I don't think, had won a world title fight for 7, 8, 9 years maybe, and Galahad looking so dominant, and it was at a weight really that Kiko Martinez I don't think was suited to at all. Cambosos versus Lopez has been mentioned as well, from Isaiah Hurtado, Tuba TJ, Johnny Jangles 11, Bearded Hammer, Ferner Tom 89, JCowan.tv. They're all going with Cambosos Lopez. Also, Jay Cowan gives an honourable mention to Rosado knocking out Beck the Bully. This is a good one. And Mikey Garcia losing to Sandor Martin. Only one person nominated that. That was from Punchlines Boxing. All brilliant upsets. I'm going to talk about my upsets as well. Obviously, I've got my own list combined, and hopefully there's some people that have very similar picks to me, and hopefully we can give away a couple of t-shirts. I'm going to get onto that at the very last part of the show, the outro. I'm going to go back through the list at the end and see if anyone deserves a t-shirt. So yeah, my upsets of the year: Vargas knocking out Josh Warrington. That was a huge upset. We saw the rematch, although it ended in a no contest after about 1 or 2 rounds. Valdez knocking out Bashel, huge upset. We had Sergei Boachuk losing to, I think it was Brandon Adams. He got knocked out by Adams. That was a massive upset, considering Boachuk, I think, was 18-0 with 18 KOs. Kid Galahad to Kiko Martinez. Sander Martin beating Mikey Garcia. Lopez losing to Cambosos. But for me, one of the biggest upsets of all was the Indian superstar boxer. I think he'd been to the Olympics maybe 2 or 3 times. As I say, Bollywood actor, policeman, Vijender Singh. Vijender Singh losing by knockout to a guy who had a really dodgy record. It was like 5-1 with a draw. A guy called, I think his name was Artish Lopsan, I think his name was. A lot of people have forgotten that one from March of this year. That I haven't seen mentioned by anyone. That's a huge upset there. Huge upset. If anyone would have said that, 100% a t-shirt would be on the way before we even finish this recording, Eddie. That's the upsets of the year. Let's go on to the next category. Trainer of the year. A few selections as well been sent in here. Sugar Hill Stewart. This one came in from Bearded Hammer. I'm just thinking Sugar Hill Stewart. Obviously in the corner with Tyson Fury. In the corner with Nico Ali Walsh, the grandson of Muhammad Ali. We've got Lomachenko's dad. That one's coming from Isaiah Hurtado. Okay, so he would have been in the corner for Lomachenko's fights against Nakatani, in which he looked unbelievable, and Richard Comey, in which he was also quite sensational, and of course in the corner with Usyk when he pulled off the win against Anthony Joshua. That's a really good call there actually from Isaiah. Andy Lee, that one's come in there from Gavin BR74. Feels like he did some good work with Joseph Parker. I just don't think he's had enough time or enough fights, enough different fighters as well to be in the shortlist for me. Eddie Reynoso, a very popular one, certainly amongst the people that sent him in. That would have been the winner if it was up to the up to the listeners, up to the people that sent in their ones. This was the most popular one of the lot. Johnny Jangles 11 going with Reynoso. Jay Cowan gives an honourable mention to Ben Davison but goes with Eddie Reynoso. Rob 11138035. Punchlines Boxing, Schoolboy Let, all going with Eddie Reynoso. But for me, Jay Cowan gave him an honourable mention. I'm going with Ben Davison, British trainer, of course, former trainer of Tyson Fury. I'm going with him. Obviously, it's not so much to do. I can't take much away or much good away from the Billy Joe Saunders Canelo fight, although I think it was a really good fight while it lasted due to Ben Davidson's tactics. So I give him a tiny little round of applause for that one. But yeah, really what did it for me was that, he led Josh Taylor to the undisputed title at 140, beating Jose Ramirez back in May. That was huge. Lee McGregor as well, demolishing Karim Guerfi for the European title in just a round. And then most importantly of all, guiding Lee Wood, who I think had lost to Jazza Dickens like a year earlier for a British title, goes on and fights for a world title, knocks out the Chinaman Can Zhu. He was a huge upset. It should have been mentioned really on the upsets. And no one's ever seen Lee Wood box like that before. That for me solidified Ben Davison's status as a coach. He's done some work as well. Some people forget, done a lot of work with Devin Haney as well. Not sure what his role is entirely in that camp, but he's certainly part of the corner and stuff. So he, by far, for me, over the likes of Eddie Reynoso, who had a bit of a dodgy one when he was in the corner for Andy Ruiz against Chris Arreola. Yeah, that's my picks. Okay, going on to the next category now. We're going to go to this one here. It's going to be quite a quick one. British Fighter of the Year. The method behind this, though, is that you can't be a world champion. So it can't be Tyson Fury. It can't be Josh Taylor. It's got to be a guy who doesn't hold a title. Preferably not even a champion at all, to be honest with you. We only had 2 people send them in, or 3 people send them in. Jay Cowan says Lawrence Okoli. Straight away, he's got a belt, so no, he is not included. The other 2 people sent in Conor Benn, and they were Johnny Jangles 11 and Rob 11138035. So they've both gone with Conor Benn, and yeah, that is my British Fighter of the Year, Conor Benn. I'm not going to get too carried away with the fact that he's beating guys really and truly that are, past their best now, obviously. He knocked out Chris Algieri. Obviously, a win against Samuel Vargas knocked him out, and then went the distance with, oh God, can't remember the guy's name now. Adrian Granados, went the distance with him, completely dominated him, and the improvement that we've seen from Conor Benn in the recent years also helps him in this category. So for me, certainly British Fighter of the Year. In second place, I've actually got a top 4. In second place, I'm giving it to Zach Parker. Perhaps didn't have the best names on his record, but to get 3 knockouts, one against Vaughn Alexander, knocked him out in, a round, I think. Got rid of him in a round. He'd never been stopped. He'd been in there with a few decent fighters, and then he's just gone in his last fight and beaten Luis Arias, who was coming off that win over Jarrett Hurd. So, that was a brilliant win there for Zach Parker. He knocked out Marcus Morrison, and we know that Chris Eubank Jr. had gone the distance with him in the fight before. And he'd knocked out Sherzod Kuzanov as well, who's a really good amateur. I think he's about 44 years of age, so certainly long in the tooth. But he'd never been stopped either. So he stopped 3 guys that had never been stopped this year. So for me, he's WBO super middleweight #1 mandatory for Canelo. This guy is the real deal. I've said it for years. And in 3rd and 4th spot, they're tied, but they deserve a mention. Maxi Hughes, simply because he just seems unbeatable and unstoppable at the moment. The run he's on is incredible. I'm so over the moon for him. You can't begrudge him any opportunity. They're even talking about him fighting Devin Haney. This is a guy that I think was working on a building site up until recently. I think he actually still works on a building site. It's unbelievable the run he's on and the wins that he's picked up this year of both. I think he's had 2 fights. They've both been excellent. As for Jason Cunningham, beating Gamal Yafai, becoming European champion, going and beating Brad Foster, who was a solid prospect. He as well, from being a complete opponent that, comes in there to fight people like Reece Bellotti. I think he was winning against Reece Bellotti, then he got knocked out. He is just weirdly improving. It doesn't make much sense. So I've got to take my hat off there to Jason Cunningham. What a really cool guy he is. Jason Cunningham and Maxi Hughes, got a lot of respect for those two, and so should everyone else. So they're third and fourth for me. I'd love them to be first and second. But joint third, I'm going to say. That's the respectful way to do it. That's it for British Fighter. Moving on now to... let's go with Fighter of the Year. We've had Cruel Jono sending Usyk, just him going with Usyk, and then everyone else unanimously, including myself, has gone for this man here, Canelo Alvarez. Yeah, so that one from Johnny Jangles 11, jcowan.tv, Isaiah Hurtado, Rob 11138035, Jerry McAllister, James V, all going with Canelo, including myself. 3-0 this year, 3 KOs, a knockout against Gilderim. No one knows how he got into the mandatory position. He's not really that good. Beating Billy Joe Saunders, smashing his face into 2 pieces almost, and then the win against Caleb Plant, another really good win. He took the O as well of Billy Joe and Caleb Plant, so he's beaten 2 undefeated world champions, took both their belts. Definitely Fighter of the Year, to be completely honest. I understand that Cruel Jono went with Usyk, but he's only had the 1 fight all year. I think that George Kambosos deserves a shout, but he's only had 1 fight all year. So they unfortunately don't get in it. And for me, it is Canelo once again. I think he won it last time as well. Unbelievable fight already, and an unbelievable year again. And we're already getting on to next year. He's already got the fight penned in at cruiserweight.
Damn. Yeah. He's got a hell of a year planned for us next year too. But I don't really think there's any argument really with who should be Fighter of the Year in that. Canelo had I think the best year of anybody at this point, with the exception of, you think of like Kambosos, like we mentioned. Usyk had a good year with those fights, but they were single fights. He had a 3-fight run, all knockouts, all big wins. So I think it's safe to say Canelo.
Yes. And moving on now to the Young Fighter of the Year, you've got to be 25 and under, so that includes world champions. So some people sent in a few different names here, a few different names sent in. So Dennis McCann from Big Della Gaming. Now, he's a great prospect, but he's not the best fighter under 25 years of age this year. I don't think he had the best 2021 of all guys 25 and under. Raymond Ford sent in from One Danny Hamo, I think it is. Again, couple really good wins, including a knockout win over Reece Bellotti, but not for me the best fighter 25 and under. Jared Anderson, that one's coming from, I think it was Smelodies OG. What else do we have? Jaron Ennis from Daryl Cobb, the Pope 84, Joe Abaddon 13, Luke Byrne, T Cole 20, Pat Marugi, jcowan.tv, all going with Jaron Ennis. Okay. Devin Haney sent him from Isaiah Hurtado. Again, the thing with that is I think I wasn't overly impressed with Devin Haney against Linares. And obviously the win over Diaz was quite a good win, to be honest with you. But I don't know. Yeah, I guess he does deserve a shout, but he's not going to win it in my eyes. He's not going to win it in my eyes. Sonny Edwards has been sent in by Rob 11138035. And Shakur Stevenson, who is my pick, was sent in by Schoolboy Let. Johnny Jangles 11 sent him in as well. The reason behind that simply is because he's had 2 fights this year. He's beaten Jeremiah Nakafila. It wasn't a great fight, let's be honest. The less said the better on that. But he dominated him, won every round. The guy wasn't really that great. The Namibian policeman, I had him on the show I think the week before the fight. Beat him easy. Didn't really get out of first gear. It was quite frustrating. But then the way he beat Jamel Herring was so impressive. And not to mention that there is a few guys on this list that hold world titles. Sonny Edwards, Devin Haney, Jaron Ennis, not yet. Jared Anderson, not yet. Raymond Ford, not yet. Dennis McCann, not yet. But he is a 2-weight world champion now. So that's got to be considered as well. So for me, Shakur Stevenson, number 1. My number 2 is Sonny Edwards, just because he dethroned Maruti and Fanlane, or however you say the guy's name. He'd been a champion about 10, 11 years unbeaten, and Sonny Edwards completely dominated him and looked unbelievable. And then he defended his title as well against Jason Mama. A little bit of a rocky start, but obviously went on to completely dominate and get in his groove. And as I say before, when Sonny Edwards gets in his groove, you can't take him out of it, and he's almost unbeatable. Did you want to weigh in on that, Eddie?
I was going to agree with you. You know what I mean? To see the way that Shakur handled himself, even in the fight that most people don't want to talk about, just understanding what his role was and how to win and on a bad night is another thing. And for somebody so young to be able to do it and understand it, and then to come and look sensational against
Jamel.
Jamel, yeah, boxer's brain. Anyway, to look sensational like he did against Jamel, I mean, I feel like he's the one guy that should be mentioned at that position under 25. So I think it's a good pick, Joe.
Thank you. And moving on to the female fighter of the year. A few different females sent in here. Johnny Jangles 11 says Sinisa Estrada. It's a good pick. I think she's had 3 fights this year. I think 1 knockout. She's quite a powerful puncher, especially considering she's a woman at minimum weight. She's obviously world champion now. She's got quite a fan base as well. A lot of people like her style. But yeah, for me, not fighter of the year, but close, very close. Katie Taylor been sent in by J Cowan TV. Tuba TJ as well. I'm not seeing that one, to be honest with you. I'm not seeing Katie Taylor. Amanda Serrano, this one sent in from Jake Paul Haters Anonymous, which is a bit weird because obviously Serrano's on all of Jake Paul's undercards. So Jake Paul's favourite female fighter is Amanda Serrano. This guy here is Jake Paul's Haters Anonymous. If it's even a guy, it could be a female, could be a fridge these days. You can identify as anything you want. So whatever it is, it has tweeted saying Serrano. I think she's had a good year, but not for me. Not female fighter of the year 2021. Savannah Marshall been nominated by Richard Harvey. Again, she had a fight cancelled, I think, in was it November or December? She had a fight fall through. But still, I mean, the fight didn't happen. I don't know if she would have fought and looked good. It would have still won a fighter of the year for me. Baumgardner as well, been sent in by Schoolboy Let. She got that crushing knockout against Terry Harper. She upset the odds, and she showed us that the power is real. It was a devastating KO. But yeah, I mean, that one win I don't think was enough to clutch it. That's it for our nominations from the listeners, from the Twitter people that interacted with us. But my female fighter of the year is Chantel Cameron. I think she absolutely blitzed Melissa Hernandez, who hadn't been stopped for years and years, had so much more experience as a pro, being a world champion, being undefeated for quite a while, and the way she dealt with her, she completely annihilated Melissa Hernandez. In the States, like I say, on her soil. And I've said it for years, she's such a problem for anyone. If I was managing any female fighter that was anywhere near Chantel Cameron's weight class, I'd say, look, we're going to have to move up in weight to stay away from her. I wouldn't want them going into a sparring session with her. She's a total animal. And I've said it for many, many years, bring on the Katie Taylors, bring on all these other ladies, bring on the Natasha Jonases. I'm sure that Chantel would move up and down the weights to make some of these big fights happen. The reason the big fights are not happening is not anything to do with her. I should mention, obviously, our other win, the bigger win of the two, was against Mary McGee. And again, I really like Mary McGee. I've kept in close contact with Mary McGee since the loss. I was sat ringside. I watched it. She completely dominated Mary McGee, who, despite being in her mid-30s, had kind of found like a second wind in her career. She seemed like she was at her absolute best. She was carrying power in fights, carrying power late in fights, and Chantel Cameron just did not allow her to get a foothold the entire fight. And anytime they traded off, she got the better of it. You know, she's been in control in every single fight she's had, Chantel Cameron. She's been in control for every second of every fight she's had. And I think that she's got the potential to be in control for any fight she has in the next few years. I think she's that good. I've believed in her from day one. And yeah, for me, fighter of the year, and she's already got her next fight lined up with Callie Reese. I think she knocks her out. We're going to see. I mean, she's about to, in my opinion, become undisputed at her weight. She is unbelievable. My second female fighter of 2021 is actually another female that wasn't nominated. It's Jessica McCaskill, simply because she had an amazing fight last year with Cecilia Brackhouse. Some people said it was a hometown cooking decision. It was a great fight either way. They did the rematch earlier this year. Everyone seems like they've forgotten it. I think it was very early in the year. Can't remember what month now. But she showed the world, really, that the Brackhouse win wasn't a fluke. There wasn't, any hometown judge decisions, no corruption, and she dominated her even better in that rematch. And Brackhouse is still a huge name in women's boxing. She was still undefeated for all that time. And she's got the better of her twice now, Jessica McCaskill. So that could be the biggest win in women's boxing all year, to be honest with you. I can't think of another one. I don't think Chantel Cameron against Mary McGee was a bigger win. I think that's probably the most impressive win all year. Clarissa Shields hasn't had a big fight all year. Savannah Marshall hasn't had a big fight all year. Who are the other names on here? Serrano's had, I think, maybe one big fight. Katie Taylor hasn't had a big fight all year. I mean, let's be real. Let's not talk about the Natasha Jonas fight as a big fight. I'm not sure many people were tipping Jonas. I thought she'd knock Jonas out. Baumgardner with a good win, actually. Yeah. I'll give her some major credit for that one. Anyways, that's it. That's my top two, Chantel Cameron and Jessica McCaskill. Moving on now to, what have we done there? Fighter, young fighter, female fighter. We're now on to the final two categories. Fight of the year. So this one was sent in by Ring Gang Radio and Isaiah Hurtado. They've sent in Lopez Cambosos. Again, I think that Cambosos dominated the fight. I'm not sure it was back and forth enough for me personally, to judge it as the best fight. I mean, there's no wrong or right answer, but just in my opinion, it's not what I want for fight of the year, but it was a great fight. Not taking that away from you guys that sent it in. Usyk vs AJ, says Jake Paul Haters Anonymous. It is back with this nomination here. Again, a great fight, but not enough back and forward, not enough momentum swings for me. Chocolatito versus Estrada 2, brilliant shout there from Tuba TJ and Johnny Jangles too. I think Tuba TJ also said that the most excited he's been for a fight all year was Wilder Fury 3, but this one was his fight of the year considering how tactical it was. He's right with that. Fulton Figueroa, says Schoolboy Let. But yeah, I talked about momentum swings and back and forth, and you can't get much better than Fury Wilder 3. That is my fight of 2021. The knockdowns from both guys. I bet on the fight to not go the distance, and I can't believe they even went as far as it did. I think, what was it, round 11? But yeah, that one was sent in by jcowan.tv, by 6'5", by James V, by Ultras Podcast, by Punchlines Boxing, by Rob11138035, by Matt Ritchie as well. That one, the most popular one, and the rightful fight of the year for 2021 for me, Eddie.
Yeah, agreed. It had everything you would want in it. It had enough drama, had a great level of excitement, obviously, throughout. With both fighters getting put down, and just when you thought that one was about to, pound the nails into the final nails into the coffin, and one guy would, basically come out of the grave, knock him down, and once again be, gain the upper hand. So it was a very, very interesting fight that went back and forth. However, I still felt that Tyson had, when he wasn't on the ground, had pretty much control of the fight. So I feel like it was only a matter of time before he gained complete control, especially looking at how Wilder started to end up. He started to get a little tired, a little weak as the fight wore on. But still got to give him credit. He stayed in it. He made it interesting all the way to the final moments.
Yeah, certainly. And I think Wilder, by the way, has got a crazy chin. They showed some clips this week of his fight with Luis Ortiz when he almost got knocked out, because obviously Ortiz fighting this weekend. I still watch those replays wondering how on earth he stayed on his feet. He's got such a chin. Moving on to the KO of the year. This one here was sent in by Na Sulemana. He said Fury's knockout over Wilder, it was painful for me to see, being a fan of the Bronze Bomber. Rosado vs. Bektemir Melikuziev for Rob 111-380-35. This one here, knockout of the year for Johnny Jangles 11. Isaiah Hurtado, Punchlines Boxing, and Geale, and they all go with Valdez vs. Bichelle, and that is also my knockout of the year. It's just the fact that no one gave Valdez much of a chance before the fight. Obviously, newly kind of moving up in weight to take on a killer like Bichelle, who was avoided really by all the other champions, all the other fighters in the weight. And it was an upset win, and the knockout itself, when Valdez ducks under Bichelle's right and left hooks to pull off the left hook counter, and it happened at 2:59, so 2 minutes 59, when the bell was actually going for the end of the round while Bichelle was on his way down face first to the canvas. It was a brutal knockout. Some other knockouts that I'm going to mention that some people haven't mentioned, obviously Rosado Melikuziev, someone did send that one in, Rob. Buatsi against that guy, I think his name was something, Daniel Dos Santos or something. That was a big knockout. Jagba, Efia Jagba against Howard. Michelle Rivera against John Fernandez was a big knockout, and Mark Magsayo against Julio Ceja, that was a huge knockout as well. If anyone remembers them, they were all good knockouts there. That is it though. We've gone through the categories as quick as we could have done. We've done fighter, young fighter, female, fight, British fighter, trainer, upset, and prospect of 2021. The final thing for us to do before we wrap up part one is to welcome our special guest on what is the 2021 end of year special podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the former IBF and WBA Middleweight World Champion. It is, of course, Mr. Daniel Geale. Daniel, welcome to the show, my man.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Hey, it's absolutely my pleasure. So, Daniel, first things first, I like to start these kinds of interviews all the same way, really. What's your earliest memory of first ever putting on gloves as a youngster?
My first ever memory, yeah, wow. Going back a while now. So I remember I would have been 9 years old, and I'd asked my dad about doing some boxing, and he took me down to a local boxing gym. And I remember, walking through a really old school boxing gym, seeing guys punch the bag. It was like an old, pretty dirty sort of gym as well. And I think at that moment I thought, this is what I want to do. And I'm pretty sure I laced the gloves up and had a bit of a punch on the punching bag, and pretty much went from there.
You boxed as an amateur, obviously, before turning pro. You were at the Olympics in 2000. What was your highlight moment, Daniel, of your amateur career? What moment kind of stands out to you most as your personal favourite moment?
That's always a really tough one. I get people asking me that one a little bit, and I guess it's hard to choose between. Obviously representing Australia like at the Olympics in 2000. I mean, it was a huge thing for myself, being pretty young at that stage. I was only 19 going into that. It was like one of my first big tournaments as an amateur. So that was like a massive, I guess, opening to the international stage as an amateur. So I always find it hard because that was definitely pretty special, especially because we stayed, we traveled for I think about 2.5 months prior to the Olympics around the world on training camp, and we didn't arrive back to Australia. It was pretty close to when the Olympics started. We arrived back to Australia, and yeah, it was amazing when we arrived back. Having such support, and the atmosphere in Sydney at that time was amazing as well. I guess the other time was the 2002 Commonwealth Games. Obviously at that stage I'd had a fair bit more experience, and I've never been a super confident kind of person. I'm very confident in my boxing, but just never a super confident person. But for that tournament, for the Commonwealth Games, I just felt like I just knew that I was going to win a gold at that tournament, which for me, I was, like I said, I was never cocky. I never, I didn't go around telling everybody that was going to happen, but I just believed in myself, and to make that happen as well, it was a pretty special moment.
And getting onto your pro career, obviously you made your pro debut October 1st, 2004 in Southport. You boxed a guy called Danny Bellot. You knocked him out in the third round. Tell me about what you can remember of that Friday night back in 2004, your pro debut.
Yeah, I remember that being pretty nervous, pretty keen and willing to put on a good performance. My first fight as a professional. It was interesting. I turned up at the venue, got all my stuff ready, went out the back, and there were a few of the kind of veteran other fighters on the card that night, and I had a fair few of them coming up to me and wishing me all the best, and kind of chatting to me like mates as well, which was interesting because I see some of these guys on these Friday night fights cards before. But I found it interesting that they already knew of me as well, which was pretty cool. So they gave me a little bit of confidence, and I knew I had to go out there and put on a good show. And Danny Bellot, he was an experienced fighter as well, and I knew he was going to give me a pretty good fight.
I want to jump forward now, quite a bit here. I want to talk about probably your biggest fight at the time, I'd say by some way, the fight with Daniel Dawson. Obviously, him being 29-0, it being for the IBO world title. Tell me about that one, because I know that was a big fight in Australia at the time.
Yeah, definitely. There'd been a bit of hype about it, and I think previously we were set to fight, and the fight got called off as well. I'm not sure. I think maybe he got sick or something. So it was about a week before the fight that was scheduled. He pulled out, I think, through sickness. So that was pretty frustrating. And then finally got the opportunity again to make it happen. It was a big fight. I had seen him fight a few times before, and I knew of him. I knew he was a power puncher, a strong fighter from the kickboxing background as well. So I knew he was going to be very dangerous. But I think at that point in my career, especially, I was very, very hungry, very determined, and I knew that was going to be a huge stepping stone. It wasn't that long before that I went to one of his bouts in person and watched him fight, and I think he knocked the guy out of the first round, which is a pretty devastating fight. But I watched that fight and I was very confident, and I knew exactly what I needed to do. And he definitely gave me a tough fight, so it was great.
In boxing, certainly when you get to the highest level, Daniel, you either need to be naturally talented or you need to be a really hard worker in the gym. I want to ask you, looking back, would you say you were more of a natural talent or a hard worker?
It's a good question. I think I had a bit of both. I know, I was definitely a hard worker, and I knew, from an early age, I had to put the effort in and I had to do those extra things. I went for I run more, I trained harder. I felt like, I did the stuff when other people were resting. I was out there training, so I knew that I had a really great work ethic. I'm not sure about the natural talent. Like I felt like I had to work my butt off for it, but I know that, I guess I developed that talent as well. Probably through all that hard work.
No, it's a good answer there. I probably should have saved that question for later on in the interview. Obviously, we see it a lot. Adrian Broner's a great example. Supremely naturally talented, not so much a hard worker. Whereas there's a lot of really hard workers that don't have that God-given natural talent, and in some cases they have better careers due to the hard work than some of these naturally talented guys. I want to jump forward in your career to May 27th, 2009, a Wednesday in Queensland. At this point, you're 21-0. Obviously, you box the former two-time super middleweight world champion Anthony Mundine. You go 12 rounds. You lose a split decision to the former champion. Tell me about this fight and I guess how it felt to lose for the first time in a close fight on points.
Yeah. I guess the lead up to that was interesting as well. Everybody knows how Anthony Mundine can sell a fight. He's always a good talker. So I mean, that was fun. That was interesting. But I guess I went in there the same as I had been previously, and I was very hungry. I knew this was a huge opportunity for me as well, fighting him on a big stage. I guess the pay-per-views and stuff as well. So it definitely put me out there a lot more. The actual fight, I thought it was a good fight, great fight to watch. I enjoyed myself while I was in the ring as well, which was fun. I knew at the end of the fight it was extremely close, and I was extremely disappointed that I didn't get the decision. I felt like I'd taken the fight to him throughout, but that's part of the sport that the fighters can't control. So it wasn't the kind of thing as well. When I lost that decision, it wasn't the kind of thing that I felt like this is the end of the world or anything. I still felt like it was a little bit of a hurdle, but a bit of a blip along the road. But I felt still as hungry as ever, and I knew that wasn't going to slow me down or definitely stop me at all. All I needed to do was just get back to the gym, and I backed myself, but also believed in my team as well. And I knew there was some big fights ahead of me again.
See, it's an interesting one because I speak to a lot of guys who lose a fight before becoming a world champion, like what happened here with you. However, sometimes the loss can make you or break you, but most times people lose badly. They get knocked out or they get completely outclassed. Where you lost in such a narrow fashion, you arguably won the fight. Did it kind of put you in a case where it was it a make or break moment, or not so much because it was such a quote unquote loss? It could have gone either way.
I didn't feel like it was
a real loss.
It didn't feel like a real loss. Like I didn't felt like I didn't get beaten in that fight. It was. Like if anything, like I felt like I came out of the fight the stronger person, and I also felt like I learnt different bits and pieces from that as well. So I took the positives out of it. I kind of left all the negatives to the side and just helped it to improve me and made me even hungrier, to be honest.
Excellent, man. And 5 months after that, you returned to the ring with a points win over Samir Dos Santos Barboza. 2 fights after that, we're now in October 2010. You box in an eliminator for the IBF middleweight title against former IBF light middleweight world champion Roman Karmazin. This one takes place in Homebush. Tell me about that one, Daniel. You knocked out a former world champion in the 12th and final round. I saw the fight once again the other day. He was completely gone in that 12th round.
Yeah. I felt like I had a plan and a strategy for that fight. My team worked with me. I felt like at that point I probably had one of my best training camps, trained extremely hard, had great sparring throughout. But I guess my plan was against such a skillful and experienced fighter was just to break him down round by round. And I felt like I went out there and I didn't go crazy, didn't take too many silly risks, just kind of chipped away and just worked hard, kept the pressure on. I felt like my distance was great in that fight, and just kind of broke him down round by round, and I knew when the time was right in the last round to take advantage of that.
That was a brilliant win. I like the way you came on so strong late on. The next fight after that certainly was a big one, of course. Saturday, May 7th, 2011. Not sure that I have to remind you of the date. I'm sure it's permanently etched in your memory. You travelled to Germany. You beat the then IBF middleweight world champion Sebastian Sylvester. The fight ends in a bizarre split decision after 12 rounds. Tell me what you remember about that night, the fight itself, and of course what it meant to you to become a middleweight world champion.
Yeah. So, with that fight in particular, like I knew traveling, foreign soil, like, New Brandenburg, where the fight was held. It was a relatively small city in Germany, and he had plenty of support, but I also knew that, with the crowd, I just need to keep the crowd as quiet as possible. The German fans were very supportive, so the better I did, the more quiet the crowd stayed, and I knew that helped my case when it came to scoring as well. So, and I kind of expected it to go to a decision as well, but I knew that my work rate was going to be a big factor in that fight. I knew he wouldn't want to go with me too much. I think he wanted to get back and use his jab as much as possible, but I knew the pressure factor was going to be a big part of that fight, and I just had to go out there and deliver.
Yeah, and also that that particular time as well in Germany, it was very hard to get a points win over there at the time. So you did well to get that. Certainly on two of the scorecards anyway. I'm not sure what the other judge was watching, of course. When you turn pro, Daniel, because I've spoke to many world champions. Some guys tell me I already knew I was going to be a world champion before I made my pro debut. When you turned pro, did you always believe you'd become a world champion?
I did. Yeah, it was something I know people asked me. I guess we came from the amateurs, and I didn't have a lot of stoppages in the amateurs. I was more of a technical fighter. I was more of a boxer. Had a lot of wins on points, but you're not KO stoppages in that. So I guess people question my ability to have power and be able to take power, punching into the professionals. So they kind of they questioned that, but I felt like I felt like I had the ability, and when I did turn professional as well, I knew by getting the right people around me, and unfortunately I was lucky enough to have Jeff Fennick helping me when I first turned professional, in a great gym, learning off some extremely good fighters, and develop that craft, which helped me in the long term.
And I want to talk about your first title defense. It came 3 months after your trip to Germany. Obviously takes place back in Australia against the Nigerian bad boy, Eromacel Albert. August 31st, a Wednesday. You won the fight unanimously over 12. Do you remember much about that win? Obviously, we remember Albert was, like many other Africans, tough as old boots, really.
Yeah, definitely. I guess I have a lot of memories about that fight, to be honest. I know we went into that fight, unfortunately, with a pretty buggered right hand, and not a lot of people knew about that, but I was dealing with an injury to one of my knuckles on my right hand, and unfortunately I went through had cortisone injections, and I was seeing physio a couple times a week, and I was doing everything possible to make myself right for the fight, and and I thought I had kind of brought it back as well as I could, but unfortunately in that fight, my right hand was horrible. I think the first right hand I threw and hit him like properly, it caused a lot of pain. So, I knew I had to fight differently in that fight, and I felt like I controlled things. Obviously he's a pressure style fighter, and he's going to come to me and make the fight, but I knew I just had to box in that fight. I would have loved to have been able to approach that fight differently, but unfortunately, my hand wasn't 100%, so I had to find another way to make it work for me.
Yeah, and then 7 months after that, you successfully defend your world title for the second time, back at the same venue. Another points win, unanimously over 12. Another very tough African, this time Adama Osumanu, March the 7th, 2012. Tell me about that one, Daniel. Another tough guy.
Yeah, that was a good fight, another tough fight, and I guess preparing for that fight, even at the press conference, Adama's trainer, I guess put a lot of, had some pretty big goes at me about being a dancer more so than a fighter, and kind of question my ability to want to stand there and go. I guess I took that, and I knew what I had to go and do out there, and I took it to Adama straight away, and kind of found it funny in the end because. But by the end of the fight, I think Adama was kind of running away from me, trying to survive. So, I felt like I did what I had to do in that fight. I would have loved for him to make a bit more of a fight of it. But I just felt like I was able to dominate him and control it and be a lot more aggressive than I think they expected me to be in that fight.
Yeah, he stole your dancing shoes towards the end. Adama.
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
Now we get to September 1st, 2012. You travel back to Germany, almost like a home away from home, to unify your title with the then reigning WBA middleweight world champion Felix Sturm. You were the underdog, of course. It was again, very hard for an away fighter to go out there and get a decision in Germany. You pulled it off again, a split decision victory, which meant you were then the unified world middleweight champion. So tell me about this fight, because this is a epic win, and of course what it felt like to then have 2 pieces of the pie in terms of world titles.
Well, I guess to begin with, a lot of people did question my reasons for traveling back to Germany again, because I had my IBF world title, and they questioned why I was going back to risk losing that again, because so many others had travelled to Germany previously and weren't able to beat Felix Sturm. But also seen it as a massive opportunity. I knew Sturm had been gone the distance with a lot of fighters, and he's a very technical, skilled boxer. So it was an interesting fight for me. It was something that I felt like was a massive challenge. My team as well, backed me 100%. We spoke about it a lot, and they asked me a lot of times, do you feel like you're going to be able to go over there and beat him on his home soil? And I said yes, I'll do it. I was extremely confident. It was another one of them ones, I guess, like the Commonwealth Games. I don't know why I felt that way, but I was just extremely confident. And like I said to you, I'm not a massively confident person all the time, but just in those instances, I was extremely confident. I knew what I was going over there to do. I knew how to do it, so to make sure I did it.
And I'm gonna be honest about this next thing here. Shortly after the fight, the WBA made the decision to strip you of the title for not facing your mandatory at the time, Gennady Golovkin. However, they also didn't give you the normal amount of time, the normal amount of breathing space after winning a title to fight the mandatory.
Yep.
I don't want to hold back here. I think their decision was BS, to be quite honest with you. How did you feel at the time, Daniel? I'm going to be honest here. I feel like if you were a superstar, someone like a Miguel Cotto, someone like a superstar from America, something like that, I don't think you'd have been treated in that manner.
No, I definitely agree. I feel like they just wanted to strip me as quick as they could. I believe I'd almost been stripped of the title before I'd arrived back in Australia after the fight. So it was disappointing. Unfortunately, I would have loved to have held on to that title for a lot longer and even been given the chance to fight for it again. But it wasn't to be.
Yeah, it's pretty bad on their part, I think. Your next fight, I'd imagine, meant quite a lot to you. You successfully defended your title here for the 4th time, a unanimous decision over 12 rounds in Sydney, January 30th, 2013. You finally got your revenge over the man that took your O controversially, Anthony Mundine, which meant that you could once again say you'd beaten everyone that you'd been in a professional ring with. Tell me about that victory, Daniel, and of course the fight itself, and he stormed out the ring as soon as they announced that decision.
Yeah, that was definitely a very satisfying one, that fight. Again, I went in there very confident. I knew exactly what I had to do, just keep plenty of pressure on him. But yeah, the lead up, as always, is always fun and interesting with Anthony Mundine. But I knew I had a job to do, but I also knew that I was a much different fighter, a much stronger fighter, a much more confident fighter than I had previously been. So, I knew straight away that, my job was there, and, just to jump in and get it done. But I guess it was interesting, and some people did make comment as well that, he was upset with the decision in the end. He stormed out of the ring afterwards. A lot of people, including myself, seen it as a pretty comfortable win. But he reckons, like he said, he got ripped off and all of that stuff. But, I found that, very interesting. But, a lot of people did say that he probably would have said that anyway, even if he got knocked out. So, yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember him ever taking a loss too good. Your next fight takes place 7 months later, August 17th, 2013, in Atlantic City. You box Britain's very own Darren Barker. You had him down in round 6. I didn't think he beat the count, to be honest, but he got back up. He managed to win a very, very tight split decision. A sad night for you, losing the title. I'm pretty sure the happiest night probably of his life for winning the title, considering his emotional backstory. Tell me about the fight from your perspective, and I'm going to be honest, I don't want to upset any of my fellow Brits, but it was close. I don't know if he deserved it. It could have gone either way.
It was a good fight. I mean, it was a great fight to watch. It was a great fight to be involved in. Darren prepared well. I knew, I had known a lot about Darren before that, and I knew he was coming in to fight. Obviously, I didn't really know a lot about his backstory and that. I guess there was a lot of emotions, going into it for him. So, I just felt like, I felt like it was a tough fight. It was a close fight. I felt like the knockdown was a big tick on my side. But unfortunately, as a fighter, you're not in control of the scorecard. So, we get it sometimes and we don't get it sometimes. So, the only way we do get to, control that a little bit more is if there is a stoppage. And, there was a pretty close, as you said, it was pretty close at that knockdown stage where I think, the referee called that he had got up in time, but I'm not sure if he had, so who knows.
6 months after that fight, you pick up a win back in Australia over Garth Wood. Just 5 months after that, though, you're back in the States. You're at Madison Square Garden here. July 26th, 2014, you challenge the undefeated and reigning WBA and IBO middleweight world champion Gennady Golovkin. You had history with Triple G, obviously. You fought as amateurs, but it's probably not your favourite fight as a pro to look back on, as it was the first time you were stopped. But tell me what it was like to share the ring with someone as good as Triple G, Daniel.
I mean, it was obviously fighting at Madison Square Garden. This is a pretty special venue. Some huge history in boxing has taken place there. So, I remember walking in the corridors around Madison Square Garden before the fight, seeing the original photos on the wall, like Ali and Sonny Liston, and just thinking this place is amazing. I mean, the actual venue to walk inside as well it's a pretty special place to be. But yeah, I felt like I prepared well for that fight. I felt like I was in a pretty good headspace. But at the same time, I knew I was in there against a great fighter as well. Somebody that had immense power. So I knew I had to be on my game there, and I just felt like maybe I made a couple of mistakes, and maybe there were a few things that were working against me in that fight as well. Unfortunately, but yeah, that can happen, and I guess you need to be prepared for that as well.
I still have no idea how he ate that right hand that you hit him with, which was a good shot, but still managed to generate enough power to, drop you with his own right hand that was on its way to you before your punch had landed. You don't see things happen like that too often in boxing. It was quite unbelievable.
Yeah, it was it was a special punch. The worst part about it for me as well, I kind of, in my mind, I had, for the round before, I had thought about, because he hadn't missed me a few times as well. He'd thrown a fair few punches and found it difficult to hit me. And I knew early on there would be a stage he would try and punch with me. And so, I was kind of trying to be very wary of that as well. And I guess I just lapsed at that moment where I thrown a punch and he threw a counter straight after. I punched counter straight after. And I guess that was the moment that I lapsed. And I was more frustrated at myself for letting myself lapse at that moment. So I felt like my defense up to that point had been fairly good. I had made him miss a lot, and I kind of had seen him get a little bit more frustrated. But I just lapsed when I shouldn't have lapsed, I guess.
And 5 months after the Triple G fight, again, you return to Australia, you pick up a win, this time a routine points win over former middleweight world title challenger Jared Fletcher. Then 6 months after that, you're back in the States yet again, this time at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn. June 6, 2015, you fought for the WBC middleweight world title against the then champion and recent Hall of Fame inductee Miguel Cotto. You stopped in round 4. Tell me, Daniel, once again what it was like to share a ring with a boxing legend, really, such as Miguel Cotto.
It was pretty special. I mean, I knew it was going to be extremely tough. The guy had massive amount of experience, and I'd watched him so many times previously in big fights. So I knew what I was up against. So I was kind of frustrated, I guess, a little bit that the fight was at catch weight, which I felt kind of hindered me a little bit as well, because there was some talk. I don't know if many people know this, but there was some talk about me fighting at a different weight before that, before the Cotto fight got locked in. I was going to fight at a heavier weight, and unfortunately that fight didn't come about. And then kind of at the last minute we found out about the catch weight, so I kind of struggled the whole way through to make weight. I finally made that. Made the weight. That they'd specified, and I guess it's kind of frustrating, but, I guess in hindsight, probably should have been a little bit more prepared for some of the little tricks that they try and do, but, it is what it is.
And then, of course, after the Cotto fight, you're out the ring for 16 months before coming back and losing your final fight against Reynold Quinlan, KO in round 2.
Yep.
Do you know what?
Yep.
You can say something about that if you wish. Otherwise, we can just move on.
No, I guess that was, I guess I felt like I prepared well again for that fight, but, it is what it is. Just, I guess I had those moments. I had a change of trainer in that as well, and that didn't work for me. So, it is what it is.
Yeah, of course, credit to Quinlan, but I feel like that's the only bad loss really of your career. I mean, obviously the first one against Mundine could have gone either way. The Darren Barker one could have gone either way. To lose to Golovkin and Miguel Cotto, these are two possible, all-time greats. That one to Quinlan definitely wasn't your old self. I want to come to you now, Daniel, if we can, for some kind of quick fire kind of questions. I want to ask you, a few questions about your career, just pretty brief ones. For years, people have said, is Daniel retired? The answer has always kind of been no. Are you officially retired now?
Officially, I haven't retired, no. I just haven't retired, so, yeah. Yeah, it hasn't been officially. Obviously, I'm not active, but yeah, I'm not officially retired.
Okay. And I want to ask you this one as well, and I think you're going to probably have to think about this one. What is your favourite win? Of all your wins, Daniel, what's the most satisfying win of all your wins?
Yeah, I think the most satisfying would have to be Felix Sturm. Yeah, with what was on the line. With the two titles on the line, it would have been Felix Sturm in front of a big crowd in Germany. Yep.
Closely followed by Mundine too, I guess.
Definitely, 100% that one. It was a close call. I got either one.
And I want to ask you as well, who was the best all-round fighter you fought as a pro? Who was the most complete opponent you ever came up against?
Probably would have had to say Golovkin. Golovkin. I know. I enjoyed the fight with Felix Sturm, and I thought it was a technical battle. It was a battle of the brains, and I enjoyed that fight. But yeah, I mean, Golovkin had that as well, but he also had that power too.
And that brings us on to the next question quite smoothly. Who hit the hardest out of everyone you fought?
Yep, probably him. Probably who I mentioned, Golovkin. Yeah.
And I want to ask you, Daniel, is there anyone you wish you'd have had the chance to fight, but for whatever reason it didn't happen?
I think at one stage there was some talk about fighting Matthew Macklin. But I think that would have been an interesting fight. I think that would have been a good fight to watch.
Yeah.
Who else? There were a couple other ones, but I just can't remember now. But yeah, I mean, watching some of the old fighters, obviously you think about how it would have went. Fighting some of like the all-time greats and things like that. But you can't really compare too much. I mean, I'd love the opportunity to be able to, think about getting the chance in with like, De La Hoya or even, who else? Roy Jones Jr., guys like that. Even going back to the era of the great middleweights, Sugar Ray Leonard, Tommy Hearns, Marvin Hagler, those guys. They ruled the middleweights for a long time.
Yeah, they certainly did. And I want to ask you this as well, Daniel. Do you have any regrets? I ask this to people. Some people have got a long list. It's quite sad. Some people have got no regrets. I love to hear that. Do you have any regrets?
Yeah, no, I don't think I do. I don't think I have any regrets. I feel like I went out there and I fought the people that I wanted to fight. I felt like I had a really good team behind me that backed me 100%. So I don't feel like I have any regrets. I feel like when people talk about me, they kind of hold me with some respect. So I appreciate that, and I don't feel like I at the moment, like I said, I haven't retired officially, but I don't feel like I need to fight. I don't feel like I've got unfinished business. If I did decide to jump back in the ring, it would be because I want to do that, but it wouldn't be because I feel like I need to or anything like that.
No. You've got nothing to prove. I think it's great. I like to hear as well that people hold you in higher regard. Obviously, coming from a place like Australia, not really known for great boxers and stuff like that. I know right now George Kambosos is lighting up the scene. It's amazing for you guys. I want to ask you as well, are you a happy man now, Daniel? Do you wake up happy every day? Obviously, to a certain degree, everyone's a bit annoyed with this pandemic, but are you happy every day considering how everything's gone for you?
Yeah, I'm happy with what I've achieved, and obviously put in a lot of hard work, and I enjoy at the moment. Like I enjoy helping out some of the young fighters around, do little bits and pieces with a little bit of coaching stuff, and be able to pass on some of the experiences that I've had, and I guess remember back to a lot of the experiences that I've had as well. I guess that's rewarding, and seeing the enjoyment that young fighters get, and receiving that experience is really good as well.
That's excellent to hear, Daniel. I was going to ask you what you're kind of up to day to day, what you're up to work-wise. Is that it? You're working with other young fighters?
Yeah, doing little bits and pieces, just a little bit of work for myself, just kind of one-on-one stuff. And spending lots of time with my kids. I felt like, with my boxing over the years, like I didn't miss out on a lot with my kids, but I felt like even though I was at home a fair bit preparing for some of my fights, I felt like my mind was preoccupied a lot with fighting, and my mind had to be in a different place. So it's been really good over the last few years, really been able to focus on my kids and, spend a bit more time with them as well, which is good.
And coming down to my final two questions, Daniel, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit here. Perhaps should have warned you, but I'm mean like that sometimes. Favorite UK fighter, any era, can be from 100 years ago, can be still fighting now. Favorite UK fighter, any era.
Any era. Yeah, wow, God. Yeah, it did put me on the spot a little bit. Thinking about. Okay, so as a fighter, for what he did and the skills that he had, I always loved Joe Kasagi. Great technical fighter. He's probably one of the top guys that I really enjoyed watching. I know there's a few more though. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a very popular answer. A lot of people like Joe. Obviously, you got Prince Nassim. Everyone likes to speak about him. Lennox Lewis gets a lot of shouts as well. And just
Definitely.
my final real thing I want to say, Daniel, if you've got any closing words, just to perhaps your fans in the UK, you've got an army of them that know you and supported you throughout your career. I'm sure you've had many nice messages over the years from guys over here, real boxing fans, but not just the UK. Anyone that's listening to this from any part of the world, what's your closing message before you leave us?
I just want to thank everybody that supported me over the years. It's definitely an experience being able to travel the world and fight some of the best fighters in the world, and to have support from obviously from your home country, but have support from a lot of people from around the world is very special. So I just want to thank all those people that have supported me over the years.
Well said. Listen, Daniel, it's been an absolute honour speaking about your career with you. I want to thank you for your time. God bless you, and I wish you a happy and healthy new year, my friend.
I appreciate it. Thank you, and happy new year to yourself as well.
Okay, now it's time for part 2 on this week's show. This part, of course, the news part of the show. I'm going to start here with the news, like I say, then the preview in. There's just literally one fight card to go over. Then we're going to get onto your pound for pound list. So let's start with the news. Like I say, only one piece of news to mention, and it took me by surprise. I had no idea it was happening. It's taking place February 22nd. Not sure where it's taking place, but we're going to see Vitor Belfort, the guy that just beat Evander Holyfield a few weeks ago when Donald Trump was doing commentary. He gets in with a guy that I had on the show a few weeks ago who told me that he was 75% out of boxing, 25% in boxing. So That was interesting. But anyway, the 25% of him that was in boxing seems to have got on board for this fight here. So it's going to be Vita Belfort taking on Chad Dawson, former light heavyweight world champion. That's going to be on Triller February 22nd. Like I say, all the best to Chad Dawson. It is kind of bizarre. That's it for the news. Moving on now to the preview part of the show. Going to whiz through this, then we're going to get onto your pound for pound list that you sent in. I think we've got about 14 or 15 of them. We're going to read them all. So yeah, on this card here, it takes place at the Seminole Hard Rock Hotel and Casino in Hollywood, Florida, USA. It's going to be on USA Fox pay-per-view. We have on the undercard a good fight between Frank Martin, 14-0, and Romero Duno, 24-2. That's over 10 rounds there. We've got Gerald Washington, 20-4 with a draw. A friend of the show gets in a 10-rounder against Ali Aaron Demarizan, who's 14-1, last seen losing his O to Efia Jagba. We've also got the rematch between Jonathan Rice, 14-6 with a draw. He beat Michael Polite Coffee, who's 12-1, of course. This is the rematch. Michael Polite Coffee has to win. A lot of people were even saying he's probably the best prospect in the heavyweight division, some people felt. I think it was Tuba TJ who said that to me once upon a time, and it all come crashing down. He needs to win this rematch. We've also got Frank Sanchez, the Cuban, 19-0 in a 10-rounder against last-minute addition Christian Hammer, who steps in, I think it was for Carlos Negron. Christian Hammer last seen quitting against Huey Fury back in October. Christian Hammer 26-8, that's over 10. And the main event, Luis Ortiz 32-2 in a 12-rounder against Charles Martin, 28-2 with a draw. I think it's a good fight. I think Charles Martin is a lot better than some people give him credit for. They look at the 2-round blowout, I think it was against Anthony Joshua, but he's a lot better than I think he showed us that night. And I think it's going to be a good fight. We don't know how old Luis Ortiz is, but we shall see, Eddie. It's two southpaws, two bangers. What do you think, man?
Yeah, I think it's all in how old King Kong Ortiz is on the night. If he's actually still young enough to get them hands off and could put fear in the people, then it's a possibility that he's going to be the man to be the man that raises his hand. But and I do agree that Charles Martin's a little better than people gave him credit for. I think he's proven at different times he's had some ability, and he's a big enough puncher to get respect, and a little bit more than just to get respect. So at the end of the day, I think it's all up to Ortiz. If he's still King Kong, then he'll definitely win. But we just got to see what age he is when he steps out in the ring, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. And moving on now, we've gone through it as quick as we could. Moving on now to the pound for pound lists. So let's start with this one here. This first one was sent in by Tuba TJ. I have it somewhere. Here's my 2021 pound for pound list. Number 1, Canelo. Number 2, Lomachenko. Number 3, Inoue. Number 4, Usyk. Number 5, Josh Taylor. Number 6, Terence Crawford. So he's quite high up on the list there. Number 7, Chocolatito. Number 8, Estrada. Number 9, Triple G. Number 10, it's tied between Cambosos and Nonito Donet. Canelo number 1. I think everyone's list has to be Canelo number 1 and Terence Crawford number 2, or the other way round. They have to have the number 2, the top 2, Canelo and Terence Crawford, in my opinion. Inoue being number 3, no problem with that. Usyk number 4, no problem with that. Josh Taylor maybe a bit high, number 5. Crawford number 6. I mean, this guy has to be above Josh Taylor. He's already done what Taylor did at 140, but he also made a mark at 135, and he's also made a mark at 147. Chocolatito and Estrada are in there, no problem with that, really. I don't know. Triple G number 9. Cambosos, I wouldn't have him in my list just based off of one big win. Why isn't Teofimo Lopez in that list as well? He beat Lomachenko, who is ranked number 2 on this list. Donaire as well, not so sure I'd have him in my top 10, but look, there is no right or wrong answer. That's just me critiquing it, and you can all critique mine when I release it at the end of this list. Punchlines Boxing comes in here with Canelo number 1, Bud number 2, that's fine with me. Inoue number 3, Usyk number 4, Spence number 5. Now everyone should know I'm not a fan of Spence being in the top 10. God. Fury number 6. Estrada number 7, Josh Taylor number 8, Beterbiev number 9, Jamel Charlo number 10. I would take Jamel out, I'd take Beterbiev out, I'd take Estrada out, I'd take Spence out. Yeah, it's alright. Moving on to Tom Nichols' list. He's gone with Canelo number 1, Crawford number 2, Fury number 3. That's very high on the list in my opinion. We've got Inoue number 4, Usyk number 5, Lomachenko number 6, Taylor number 7, Spence number 8, Estrada number 9, Golovkin number 10. Okay. I like most of them apart from Spence, Estrada. I'd probably take out maybe Golovkin. Good list though. I think that's a good list. I'm not sure I agree with the order, but it's a good list. It's a good 10 names. Damian Adams sends in this next one here. Canelo number 1, Terence Crawford number 2, Inoue number 3, number 4, Errol Spence, number 5, Terence Crawford, number 6, Usyk, number 7, Josh Taylor, number 8, Beterbiev, number 9, George Kambosos, number 10, Stephen Fulton. Again, Stephen Fulton, friend of the show, shouldn't be on the list. George Kambosos Jr., friend of the show, shouldn't be on the list. Errol Spence, again, shouldn't be number 4. I just don't understand that. I do not understand that. How can he be at number 4? What has he done to warrant being at number 4? What's he got, 1 belt or 2 belts? Is that it? No. Rob 11138035, he's entered every single category. We thank him for that. He sends in this list here. Canelo number 1, Crawford number 2, Usyk number 3, Spence number 4. He's there again. Number 5, Inoue. Number 7, Josh Taylor. Number 8, Donaire. Number 9, hang on. Canelo, Crawford, Usyk. So number 1, Canelo. Number 2, Crawford. Number 3, Usyk. Number 4, Spence. Number 5, Inoue. Number 6, Taylor. Number 7, Donaire. Number 8, Bivol. Number 9, Kambosos. And number 10, Fulton. So he's got the same 9 and 10 as Damian Adams. Interesting. I don't agree with either of them, but thank you for the contribution. This one now, Chris Lewis. He sends in Canelo number 1, Crawford number 2, Inoue number 3, Usyk number 4, Spence number 5. He's there again. Tyson Fury number 6, Josh Taylor number 7, Beterbiev number 8, Lomachenko number 9, and George Kambosos Jr. number 10. Again, I just don't understand how you can put George in and Lomachenko in, but not put Teofimo Lopez in. Lomachenko number 9. It's funny because I don't think I've even seen him in anyone else's list. Oh no, he has been in a few lists. Yeah, 1 other list or 2 other lists since we've done them so far. Yeah, I think Lomachenko definitely deserves a place in the top 10. That's Chris Lewis. Moving on now to, it's either John Gary Antoine or Jean Gary Antoine, but either way, he's gone with Canelo number 1, Usyk number 2. Okay, number 3, Josh Taylor. Number 4, Jamel Charlo. Number 5, Errol Spence. Number 6, Bud Crawford. Obviously, I can't get on board with that. Crawford number 6. We've got Spence above him. We've got Josh Taylor above him. We've got Jamel Charlo above him. I'm not liking that one. Lomachenko number 7. Tank Davis number 8. Number 9, Kambosos. Number 10, Inoue. This one is sent in from the Killer B24. He's gone with Canelo number 1, Crawford number 2, Inoue number 3, Alexander Usyk number 4, Josh Taylor number 5, Artur Beterbiev number 6, Vasily Lomachenko number 7, Estrada number 8, number 9, Kazuto Ioka, number 10, Nonito Donaire. He obviously likes his lower weights, I think, this guy here, but I don't think he's been influenced by any of the other contributions like I think maybe some guys have on here. So I respect the list. It's not the same list I'd have. Dan Roach, I like this list a lot actually. Number 1, Canelo. Number 2, Crawford. Number 3, Usyk. Number 4, Inoue. Number 5, Lomachenko. Number 6, Josh Taylor. Number 7, Tyson Fury. Number 8, Beterbiev. I'm not so sure he'd be in my top 10. Number 9, Errol Spence. Obviously, I'm not too pleased with that. Number 10, Donaire. I'm not so sure about that. But his first 7 names, I quite like that. And I quite like the order of that. So I'm going to come back to that one. Michael Sprott, former heavyweight fighter. he sent in a list as well. Obviously, we remember he had the fight against Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua is not on his list. He goes number 1 Canelo, number 2 Crawford, number 3 Tank Davis, number 4 Tyson Fury, number 5 Usyk, number 6 Lomachenko, number 7 Inoue, number 8 Josh Taylor, number 9 Errol Spence, number 10 Artur Beterbiev. Solid list. Canelo, Crawford, Davis. What do you think, Eddie? Good list.
Yeah, I like that list. There's maybe a name or two that I would have had either shuffled around or maybe removed, but for the most part, I really like that list. That's a good list. Not just because I respect him as a fighter, but it's because that's actually a pretty damn good list.
This one from the squared circle. Number 1, Usyk. Number 2, Canelo. Number 3, Crawford. Number 4, Inoue. Number 5, Estrada. Number 6, Gonzalez. Number 7, Josh Taylor. Number 8, Errol Spence. Number 9, Lomachenko. Number 10, Ioka. Number 1, Usyk. That I'm not so sure about, Eddie. I don't think he's done enough to be before Canelo and Crawford, in my honest opinion. And I will say the next list as well is coming from Team Boxing First. He also has Usyk number 1, Canelo number 2, Inoue number 3, Crawford number 4, Josh Taylor number 5, number 6 Errol Spence, number 7 Juan Francisco Estrada, number 8 Vasily Lomachenko, number 9 Kazuto Ioka, number 10 George Kambosos Jr. So who's missing out of that list there? I'm not sure who's missing. It's a good list, actually. But again, Usyk number 1 in 2 lists in a row.
I mean, look, he's done a hell of a job, man. His career right now is he's on the road to the Hall for sure. So I mean, I can't be mad at the list that these guys putting him high on the list. Like I said, he's been doing a great job. I mean, like I said before too, with these lists, it's beauty is in the eye of the beholder. You know what I mean? Whoever you happen to like a little better than maybe somebody who even has more, qualifications for being there may be ignored. You know what I mean? Because you like this other guy better. So that's why I think it's on a list by list basis, man. And it's in the eye of the beholder. So no wrong answers, like you said, Joe. We just gotta deal with it.
Moving on to Daniel 07071597. He says number 1 Crawford, number 2 Usyk, number 3 Josh Taylor, number 4 Errol Spence, number 5 Tank Davis, number 6 Beterbiev, number 7 Bivol, number 8 Inoue, that's high on the list, number 9 Donaire, number 10 Fury. What can I critique there? Crawford and Usyk number 1 and 2, always good. Josh Taylor number 3, maybe a bit high. Errol Spence number 4, get that out. Number 5, Tank Davis. Number 6, Beterbiev. Number 7, Bivol. Inoue, number 8, I think could have been a bit higher. Donaire wouldn't be in my top 10. And Tyson Fury gets number 10. Okay. Moving on to this one here. It's from @Schoolboylet. This guy's name is Eddie. I want to say this is the final one. Canelo number 1, Bud number 2, Usyk number 3. Josh Taylor number 4, Kambosos number 5. Now, no way should he be top 5. Spence number 6. Well, we know how I feel about that. 7, Jamel Charlo. 8, Beterbiev. 9, Inoue. 10, and the reason I left this one to a last is because he has put a guy number 10 who I'm putting as number 10 on my list. Shakur Stevenson, Eddie.
Oh, I definitely like his number 10. I like his number 10. That kid, I think he's been a little bit under mentioned in all the other lists. But I mean, like I said, it's in the eye of the beholder. He's done a lot of good things, especially this year, winning that fight in the way, in the fashion that he won against. What is wrong with my head? I just had his name in my mind and on the tip of my tongue. It was, Jamel Herring. And the way he won that fight was impressive, and just in general, him as a fighter, his ability and just how he carries himself with the way he fights is that he definitely should be involved in this list a little more often with more people putting him in. But like I said before, there's no wrong answers, and the beauty is in the eye of the beholder. So it depends on who you like.
And now my list, just to finally wrap it up. This is the final part of the the part 2, really. The final part here, my list. So my top 10 pound for pound list. Number 1, Canelo. Number 2, Crawford. Number 3, Usyk. Number 4, Lomachenko. Number 5, Inoue. Number 6, Golovkin. Number 7, Josh Taylor. Number 8, Demetrius Andrade. I don't think anyone had him in their list. Number 9, I've gone with Jamal Charlo. And number 10, Shakur Stevenson. I've got to give an honourable mention to a few guys that didn't make the cut. Oscar Valdez, who I think is still undefeated, moving up the weights, getting wins. I think he certainly deserves, he deserves a place really in a top 10 list. It's not going to be mine, but he's just outside of it. As is Tyson Fury, as is Artur Beterbiev, as is Bivol, as is Gervonta Davis, as is Gary Russell Jr., as is Errol Spence. Mikey Garcia's come crashing out on my list. He was in my list. And yeah, Gilberto Ramirez as well. Another one that's, in my top 20, but not in my top 10. But like I said, that's my list. Again, it doesn't mean I'm right. You can critique me if you want. You can absolutely laugh your heads off at what I've gone with there. But yeah, that's my list as well. So I'm going to compare my list to a few other guys. And then perhaps on the outro, I might give away a t-shirt or two to some people that sent in good lists and also good category answers for more than one category. We'll get onto that on the outro. But like I say, that's it for all the talking. In part 1, we did the categories. We did the review part. It was very brief. Then we brought you our special guest, the former unified middleweight world champion Daniel Geale. In part 2, we've done the brief news part, the fight between Belfort and Chad Dawson. We've done the preview part, which was very, very quick, one card. And then we've just done your pound for pound list. So I just want to say once again, thank you all for your contributions this week. It's been a tremendous show. We've thoroughly enjoyed it. And I've been looking forward to it for months on end, really, to talk about all these fantastic things that's happened in this year, especially after 2020, which was rough for us all. But it's now time for me to come in with the outro, which I'll do in just a few seconds. Okay, and this wraps up episode 324 of the BoxHard Podcast. I've been your host, Joey Coastman. Eddie Chambers has been with me for the duration of the show. This has been the end of the year 2021 special. A huge shout out to our special guest, the former unified middleweight world champion Daniel Geale. The biggest thanks of all, though, goes out to you, the listeners. I do want to make you all aware of something real bizarre, though, that I meant to say earlier on in the show, to be honest with you, but it's got to be said before we wrap things up. It was something that went down this month, actually. A former 2-time boxing world champion who had over 100 pro fights. I think his record was 97-5 in his pro career. This month alone, he refereed 10 fights, judged 18 fights, and despite being only 5'6" in height, he had a bare knuckle boxing match against a guy who was 6'5", and he won. Only in boxing, you could not make it up. I bet you can't tell me who that guy's name is. We shall see. But the winner of the T-shirt giveaway competition for his contributions to the 2021 end-of-year categories goes to Johnny Jangles 11. So he gets a T-shirt, and so does Dan Roach for his input with his pound-for-pound boxing list. So 2 T-shirts to be given away there. Both of you, please send myself or Eddie a direct message on Twitter or a tweet to claim your prizes. But that's about everything from myself. I want to wish you all a fabulously happy new year, and we shall see you all again in 2022.